Hi, my name is Johnny Oriana. You probably know me as the creator of the comic book The World of Mangasaurus, but that's not what we're here to discuss, nor anything about my other future works. Today, we're here to discuss about a real-life crisis that is affecting our world. It's called extinction. What comes to mind when we think of the word extinction? Dinosaurs, mammoths, the dodo bird, and giant ground sloths. Now, what do all these animals have in common? Oh yeah, they're all extinct. But some of these animals are extinct because of us. We have held the record of driving so many species to extinction, and we still haven't learned from it, for this global conflict still wreaks havoc today. Many people continue to slaughter animals, and most of them are critically endangered. Even pollution threatens the lives of these creatures. Worst of all, some people just don't care about these animals and decide to just kill them for the heck of it. We can no longer allow this crisis to continue. After all, how do you think the animals all feel about this? The horror! What is the United States doing about the global animal atrocities towards endangered species? And if they are not doing a good job, what can we do to stop this? Well, with that said, let's jump into our first cause for extinction, pollution. Because many people carelessly dump garbage and other deadly toxins into huge bodies of water, including the ocean, it ends up harming many varieties of aquatic and sea life. When we throw plastic into the ocean, fish and other creatures mistaken it for food, which causes them to choke on the plastic remnants or die. But this can also be threatening to us because many of these plastic substances could end up in all the fish we eat. Furthermore, whenever we leave fishing nets out in the middle of the ocean, many animals like dolphins, sharks, turtles, and whales end up being ensnared and entangled by these nets, either to get trapped, to get injured, or to die. It's a very gruesome sight indeed. And if you still think pollution isn't that much of a problem, you better think otherwise, because this is how it can affect us. Farmers who work with pesticides in their fields fall victim to exposures from these harmful chemicals, making them victims of their own method of farming. Plus, the deadly pesticides can affect those around them by spreading through the air, contaminating many innocent people, including children. The causes of these toxins are fatal, as they can cause cancer, birth defects, and higher chances of certain death. And now we move into a more tragic element, whaling.
Now, I'm sure many of you are wondering, why do whales need saving? I thought there was a ban on whaling. Indeed, 2016 marks the 30th anniversary of the International Whaling Commission's moratorium on commercial whaling. Unfortunately, not all populations have recovered. The Southwest Pacific humpback whales provide an important example. At present, there are only 3,000 to 5,000 humpback whales that seasonally reside in the waters of Oceania, roughly 10% of the pre-whaling population.
This is one of the topics I did more research on, especially on National Geographic. If you are by any chance familiar with Nat Geo, you probably heard the report of Japan killing 333 minke whales off the coast of Antarctica. Even though it was established by the International Court of Justice for Japan to ban all of its activities on whaling, Japan disregarded it anyway and disobeyed that law deliberately and went ahead and continued with its marine mammal slaughtering expedition. Sadly, it gets even worse with these guys, because unlike the United States, the Japanese have a lack of respect and love towards whales. Supposedly, the main reason why Japan kills whales is because they do this for scientific research. I know, how ironic. Once they kill a whale, the Japanese supposedly start their so-called scientific research by collecting organs of the whales, only for later on for the stuff to end up in a meat market. Which is ironic because most Japanese don't like whale meat. So this is what you low-down Japanese call scientific research. Very funny. What are you teaching your kids, Japanese? Not to mention the Japanese don't feel whales as majestic mammals, instead see them as big fat stupid fish. Worst of all, Japan disagrees with animal activists and the idea of protecting whales, which points out that the Japanese are more likely to be ruthless poachers rather than scientists.
We've not always treated whales or their environment humanely.
As much as you, I wish I could stop this ongoing animal atrocity, but sadly, there's not much we can do. All I can say is the only way to stop whaling, or at least try to, is to protest against the Japanese government and keep encouraging animal activists to protect these majestic creatures from vanishing from our oceans. Hopefully we just might be able to make a difference and see through the Japanese so they can finally stop driving these creatures to extinction. If you think whaling was bad enough, just wait till you see what's going down in Africa as we move on to poaching of African elephants. Elephants are one of the most majestic animals on Earth, and just like whales, they deserve all the love and respect they need. But sadly, some people just don't get the message, as there have been poachers who would kill the elephants to get to their ivory. After all, ivory is supposedly more valuable than diamonds and cocaine. But don't be too hard on the poachers. Unlike the Japanese, they have a tragic story to tell, and they don't just kill animals just for the money or the ivory or anything. Here's what Dr. Ms. Curry has to say about it.
In Africa, why do poachers have to kill elephants and rhinos just to get to their ivory?
Well, from what I've learned, African citizens have very, very low, or they have a very high poverty rate. And so a lot of times they have to kill these elephants in order to provide for their families, to make sure they have money, and to make ends meet.
No, that's terrible. Well, what could they do to refrain from this cruel habit?
Well, I think one thing that they can absolutely do is that the government, including our own government, needs to provide job training, education for people in Africa who can have a better livelihood than having to resort to killing elephants for their ivory.
Well, how long do you think that process is going to take? Because I hear there are more things that are easier said than done.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I think that sometimes it takes a few years to get those things into motion, but we could start calling our congressmen tomorrow and have them begin work on that right now.
Well, that sounds fascinating.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, with that said, not only do we need to help the elephant population from decreasing, we also need to help Africa to give in more applications for jobs and education, so that way no one has to go to do poaching for a living. It is our duty to keep many of these wonderful creatures from becoming extinct. It may take years, or a whole entire generation, but someday we might be able to make a better future for all animals everywhere. Especially even you can do something to stop extinction from affecting our world. Please subscribe.